Hey, though, if you want to get up and dance or do a flip in this next part, I'm recording the class tonight, and I think it'd be cool to. I'll put a snippet of you guys dancing up there. I think it's cool to show the rest of the world how much fun we actually have in here and how you can build community and culture within inside EXP world. Until I see the sunrise, we're just living life. The front row has some moves. How about the back row?
Go, Tamika.
What? Yeah, send me my code. Until we see the sunrise, we're just living life. So we can toast to the good. Just give me water, I'm so dry.
Jolly.
Well, hey, welcome to Real Estate 101. We're going to get started here in just a second, and tonight I'm actually going to do something a little different. So I just put up on the screen the YouTube channel, and I also posted it in the chat box, and it's also in our workplace group. I'm going to stand right up here because I'm going to, sorry, I'm having computer issues tonight. My avatar's walking like I've been drinking a little bit. Let's see, but I haven't. Let me pull the screen up, and that way we'll have a better recording tonight. If you guys will mute your microphones when we get started, I'll give you plenty of times where I'll come in and I'll ask you guys so you can unmute and ask questions. But we've got 130 something people in here right now, and I'm anticipating we'll probably have close to 200 people in class later on tonight. People will be coming in as we start. And to get the best recording, it always comes out better when you're not, you have someone that doesn't realize their microphone is not muted, and then they start talking and it comes off in the recording. And so if you can help me to mitigate that, it won't, there's no way for me to mute everybody in the audience. I've tried that before and it just doesn't work. So again, this is Jonathan Dupree. This is Real Estate 101. I want to let you know a couple things before we start talking tonight about how to do a listing presentation, what tools you should download, how to customize those. If you have questions while I'm teaching tonight, type them in the chat box. I will download it at the end so I can go back through. We'll try to have some people who are answering during the chat class so that they'll be reading the chat as it's going. I want to let you know a couple of things. So this YouTube channel, my intent is to upload every one of our classes. However, it takes a lot of time to do this, and I'm actually like you guys, so I've got a lot of stuff I do during the week. It's hard for me to do this, but I do my very best to get them up. I'm going to put them on this YouTube channel that I just posted in the chat box, so that you can go and watch the videos and see the videos again. The class is over again. If you are having some issues, I see a couple people saying they can't hear or something like that, leave the world, come back into the world. That fixes everything. It makes it much easier to when you have an issue to fix it. So I want to welcome you guys. I've got some guests here tonight as well. I'm really excited. Some agents in other places that are exploring EXP world. Thanks for coming. My mom's in here. She's an incredible agent. Did 52 million last year. So you guys that are here in the world definitely want to connect with her. Laura Dupree. So she's here in the world. I see her. She hopped into the class. So Mom, thanks for being here. And I want to, I can't tell if my son's here. I know he's out of town, so he might not be here in the world. But I want to let you know about the YouTube channel, so make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, I want to let you know if you want to get the weekly email that I send out that gives you an update of what we're going to be talking about in class. Also, we did a mastermind this weekend. Raise your hand this past week. Raise your hand if you were at the mastermind. It was like an on-the-fly, last-minute, planned in 20 minutes. Great stuff, great content. I shot out an email. If you want to get those emails, I just posted the link in the. You see it up on the screen, but I just posted the link there in the public chat box. So click on that link and enter your information. And I wanted to let you know about that. And then just a couple more quick things before we dive into the class, and just giving a couple folks a little bit of time to get here. And then we'll start. The other thing I want to let you know is I have two things. I have a webinar that I'm facilitating, and it is on July 26th. This is not a free webinar. I'm a facilitator for it, and I just thought I would make it available to you guys, whoever wanted to attend as well. I teach this for lots of organizations. It's called the One-Page Business Plan. This is Jim Horan is the creator of the One-Page Business Plan. Really helps you identify your vision, your mission, your objectives, your strategies, and your action plans for your business. So you go, what am I building? That's your vision. Then you get very specific and hone it down to what's the mission? Why is it important that I build this business? What are the objectives? Those are the things you want to measure, the things you want to keep a finger on the pulse of your business, the metrics that matter most in your business to help you move from where you are to where you want to be. Then you're going to, what are the strategies to implement so that I hit those objectives, so that I accomplish the mission and implement the vision that I'm building. And the strategies, you're going to go, what are my top 3 or 4 strategies for that I'm going to grow my business? It might be one strategy is to increase my listings. And then how are you going to do that? What are the strategies to increase your listings? And you might focus on for sale by owners. You might focus on doing open houses. You might focus on working your sphere of influence. You're going to get very specific, though, and break it down. Then you're going to go, what are each action step to implement the strategies to hit the objectives to make sure that I accomplish the mission and build out, implement the vision of what I'm building. This is about a 2.5 hour webinar. It's not free. And it's $895, but you're not just paying for the webinar. You have an hour-long one-on-one call with me after the webinar. You have all the tools from Jim Horan to help you build your business plan. And then you have a one-on-one call with me where we actually work together to craft your business strategy to grow your real estate business over the next 12 months. And then you're going to revise that plan, and you're going to email it to me, and I'm going to help you revise it one more time, because it takes a couple revisions of this plan. If you're interested in learning more about it, I posted the link in the chat box there as well, and you can you can have access to that. A couple of people are telling me that they don't see anything on the screen. I see stuff on the screen. Do you guys see stuff on the screen?
No, it's blank. It has a thing for crank wheel.
Okay. Well,
I don't see anything either.
No worries, because I'm not showing you anything special. I'm just all I'm doing right now is clicking on links and posting them in the chat box. Are you seeing the links come up in the chat box? You should see those.
I'm seeing your screen.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
perfect.
seeing your screen.
Oh, some of y'all are seeing my screen. Yeah. Okay. So if you're not seeing it, I don't know how to correct that. But the good news is I'm not really going to be showing a lot of slides tonight. So if you guys can hang in there, we're really going to do a lot more discussion tonight, and there's not a lot of slides. I'm only going to show you a couple of things on the slide side that I think are important for you. If you are looking on the screen, you should see, and what I will do for you is I will just disconnect and reconnect before we start into this presentation. And let me just disconnect, reconnect, and maybe that'll help you guys who aren't seeing it. And should see it now.
I did see it.
Perfect. Okay.
It's up.
Awesome. Sorry about that. And don't know what happened there. That's part of technology, right? The good and the bad. So let's just go ahead and dive into this. Look, man, awesome. We got 178 users in tonight, or people, avatars, whatever you like to call yourself in EXP world. It's going to be a great class. We're going to talk about not how to get the listing, but how to do a listing consultation, what you want to be thinking about. What should you do to prep beforehand on the listing? If you want to learn more about the scripts in the listing side, I created a group. There's not another group like it on Workplace. I was talking with Brad Anderson this weekend, and there's no group that just shares scripts. And so I did create a Workplace group called Scripts, Tips, and Tricks, and you want to join that. So if you're not a member of it, go to Workplace and join Scripts, Tips, and Tricks, and it's just going to be a place to load scripts for you, and then tips like how to use embedded commands, tie downs, tricks. How do you tap in subconsciously when you're talking to somebody so that they're hearing you on a different level? How do you resolve conflict? How do you move someone? How do you overcome objections? How do you keep someone moving through a process? And a lot that's a lot in the listing. Tonight we're really talking about the listing consultation and the process, the flow of it. So if you don't overthink this, and this is where a lot of agents get into trouble, is they overthink everything. They overthink what happens in the presentation, what happens after, what happens before. You definitely want to be intentional. You want to be prepared, but you don't want to overthink it. We have, and someone has a dog barking. Paul, if you can mute your microphone. Or maybe it's not a dog. Paul?
It's Paula.
Paula?
I think it's Paula.
No, I don't have a dog barking.
Something. I'm sorry. I didn't know what it sounded like. It was something going.
Okay. One moment. Let's see what I can do here.
Just click that microphone button on your screen and to where it's not green, and that way it'll mute out. So where I start, so this backtrack this. You have a listing appointment. Tonight I'm not talking about how to get a listing appointment. That's a class within itself. But you have your listing appointment. So what do you do? Where do you start? You're getting ready to go on it. So the first thing that I do when I have a listing appointment is I want to know a little bit about the house. And I utilize RPR. And that's the Realtor's Property Resource, and it's through NAR, and you all get free access to this. And so if you just simply go to narrpr.com, you can create your account. You're going to need to know your NERDS number to be able to activate your account, and then you can literally go into RPR and you can type in any property, and that property is going to come up, and you can see all kind of details about it. You can see what they owe on the property. You can see if they have a second mortgage on the property. You can see the estimated value of the property. It gives you a score of how accurate that is. And for those of you that are looking at the screen right now, if you move your mouse to the top of the screen, there's a magnifying glass. You can click on that. It'll bring the screen up closer to you so you can see it better. Just a little tip there. And so RPR allows me to go in and search for a property and find out all the information that I need on the front end to start prepping. I can create a seller report, a market analysis that I want to send to them if I want to send it to them on the front end. I do not when I do a listing. I want to have an idea in my head, and I don't want to tell them that idea right out the chute. I want to know kind of where they are and what they're thinking, and that's the next part of this. So the first part is I go to RPR. I just simply type in the property address, pull it up. It's going to also show me everything, just like when you do a CMA, it's going to show me everything else in that subdivision, in an area that's sold, that's active, that's pending. I'm going to see all of that information in RPR. The next thing that I do is I tell them, so when I have this report, I go, hey, I've got a little bit of homework for you that I want you to do. And let me pull it up. And hopefully it switched. I'm having some internet problems. So on my screen, it looks like it switched, and you should see the Jay Kinder Real Estate Experts app. I put this up because this is the one that I'm shifting to, but I was using just a regular questionnaire that I used. I went to Jay's class, and this is the sheet that I use. And you can send this to them, or you can do it while you're with them, but it's basically letting you capture as much information as possible from a seller. And some of this you'll know on the front end. You'll know it because maybe you know who they are, but if you don't know them, it's a great opportunity for you to gather as much information as possible. So you might do a call on the front end and ask them this, or you might say, I've got a little bit of homework before I get there. I'd like to have as much information as possible. I'm going to send you a form, and I'd love for you to fill that out and send it back to me. Or you could do it on your first appointment. I don't do it on my first appointment. I'm going to tell you what I do in just a little bit. But this is a great tool, and I will there's a file and workplace chat in the water cooler chat that Jay Kinder shared where he's got all of these tools, and you may want to join his National Association of Expert Advisors. There's a lot of tools in there specific to dealing with listings, but this is the tool that I'm about to begin using. Second thing that I want to show you is the listing management checklist. And the listing management checklist is a tool that you can download. And you can download it from EXP Marketing. And I'm going to pull it back up because the screen share is off again. And there we go. So the listing management checklist is available for you in EXP Marketing under the tab Helpful Documents. And in a little bit, I'll show you how you get there when I go over how to download the listing presentation. So let me tell you a little bit about this tool. This is going to give you some good ideas of what to do before the listing, on the appointment, after the appointment, once you have it listed, and then once it's under contract. It's really a good tool. Right now, we're going to talk about what to do on the appointment, before the appointment, and on the appointment. So you want to prepare your valuation. You want to go in knowing what the home should be priced at. Most agents go in and they basically, I'm sorry, my phone is being blown up. Guys, listen, I send out an email, I send out a post, and I send out the times on EXP. Everyone's asking me where this class is and what time it starts, but I can't answer actually while we're in the class. So and I'm ADD, and so that kicks in and it messes me up as my phone's buzzing like 50 times in a row, people asking where we are. There's a group of people in the wrong room, so I'm just sending them a message telling them where to go. So you want to prepare the valuation. I use RPR for the evaluation, or for the valuation. You want to preview the other listings. So my son and I rode, and we went and looked at all the other homes for sale in this subdivision on the appointment we went on Thursday. You want to call other listing agents if you can, of the recently, and agents of the homes that are just sold, and ask them input. Tell me a little bit about this market. Man, the subdivision is a hot subdivision. The average day on the market in this subdivision is 24 days. They're $490,000 to $520,000 homes in our market. That's a good price point. And then you want to prepare all your necessary agreements, disclosures, everything that you would need. We don't order the preliminary title report in Louisiana, so that's something that doesn't apply to us before we go on a listing appointment. But I can look at a lot of things on RPR and get a good bit of information from that. I can find out if they're upside down in their home, or if they've got a second mortgage and it's just not going to be feasible probably for them to sell, or wow, okay, they've got a lot of equity and I can really help them. I can get a lot of that information from RPR. So my son and I got all of our paperwork together for this listing. We got our sign, lockbox, all of that, went on the appointment. Now we're on the appointment. Here's the best thing I can tell you about this appointment. The best thing I can tell you is this. Your number one goal is to build rapport. Your number one goal is to build rapport. If you don't build rapport, nothing else really matters. If you can't communicate with them and build some type of relationship quickly, that they feel like they can trust you and that they just connect with you, you're going to struggle. And so that's the number one thing I can tell you on the listing appointment. You've got to build rapport. So I walk up to the front door, I ring the doorbell, they come in, I say, hi, this is Jonathan Dupree. Now, I happen to know this person, so I didn't say that, but if I'd say, hey, this is Jonathan. Or in this case, I said, hey, Lance, how are things going? I'm here for our appointment. We're supposed to meet at 5:30. It's 5:30. And I tell him that because I want him to let him know I'm on time. I'm here. I do what I say I'm going to do. I walk in. I have my bag over my shoulder, and I say, would you mind if I set my bag at the kitchen table, because that's where we're going to end up? Do you mind if I set my bag on the kitchen table? And look, let's just start in the back of the home, work our way back here. Give me the tour. Show me your house, man. Tell me all about it. Tell me the good, the bad, the ugly. Tell it to me all. And so as we're walking through, I'm taking notes, and he's telling me all about his house. And I'm also talking to them a little bit about things that I see in the house, things about them. I'm asking about their family. So, tell me why you guys are moving. It's a beautiful home. Well, we bought some land. We're building our own house. That's awesome, man. Is that something you guys have been trying to do for a long time. Has that been a dream? No, it hadn't been a dream. It's kind of spur of the moment how it happened. We found the land. We bought a camper because my son travels and plays baseball, and we're always going in that. We can't keep the camper here. It's against the restrictions. And I just decided I'm going to build me a house on a bunch of land where I can have my camper and my dogs can run, and we just are by ourselves in our own little world. Fantastic, man. That's great. And so I'm building some rapport with them. I'm asking them questions, and I'm seeing the home. While I'm also looking at the home, I want to be able to give them some advice, some input on what they need to do. So they didn't say we're listing with you, but when I walk into the son's room and you open up the closet and boom, everything's all right there, I just say, hey, Lawrence, listen, when you guys list with me later tonight, I'm going to give you a list of things that we have to do before we put the home on the market, okay? And so one of them is we got to clean this closet. We got to make this look, but I'm just going to give you some input. So I don't want you to be offended with the things I'm telling you. I'm just going to tell them to you because I want to make sure that we are able to sell your home fast and for top dollar. So I'm going to give you a list of things that we have to do on the front end when we sit down later on to list the home, okay? And in that conversation, I said list the home probably 2 or 3 times, but I also let them know I'm going to give you advice. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to make sure that we sell your home fast and we sell it for top dollar. So he gives me the tour of the home, and then we make our way back to the kitchen table. And when we sit down at the kitchen table, I now pull out, I used to pull out a little informational sheet with my questions that I ask. And now I use the iPad Pro and the Apple Pencil. And so I just pulled out my iPad. I said, listen, Lance, what I'd like to do right now is just really ask you guys some questions, find out what your goals and needs are, talk a little bit about, if you see the listing appointment, it gives you the bullet points right there. Discuss the client's goals, identify improvements at the property, discuss pricing, timing, strategy, and decide if it's a good fit between you and the client. You know, you don't want a client, you can tell. I went on an appointment 2 weeks ago with my son, and I said, this is going to be a crazy listing. We don't want to deal with this person. So you want to decide if it's going to be a good fit for you, and then you would execute paperwork and disclosures and prepare the list of what they need to do. So I'm going to walk through this for a second. So I said, literally tell them, I'm going to ask you some questions and really kind of focus on what's important to you guys. So Lance, why don't you go ahead and just tell me what y'all's goals are? And I mean, I know obviously you want to sell your home, but what's your goal in selling your home? How much are you wanting to get from your home? What's your goal time frame? How long are you like, when do you need to sell it? I know you're building, so you don't have to sell it right away, but what happens if you got a contract next week? Are you going to be able to sell it and go somewhere while you're building your house? Or are you trying to rent it back from whoever buys it? That's kind of difficult. What are you trying to do? Tell me a little bit about your goals. And he did. And I'm taking notes. And I asked him, is it okay if I take notes while you're sharing this stuff with me? Because I don't want to miss anything important. Now, what are they going to say when I ask them that question? Would you mind if I take notes? What do you think they're going to say?
They're going to say definitely.
Yeah, they can say, no, I don't mind at all. Take notes. That'd be great. What is that really saying to them by me asking that question?
That you're professional and that you're about what they want to do, because you know, you're going to take action.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hey, he's listening to me. What I'm saying is important, and it's so important to him. He's taking notes. That's in the mental picture that they paint. And so I'm writing down the answers to the questions that I'm asking him, and I want him to know that what you're telling me is really important to me, and I want to make sure I don't want to miss anything, because this is your future. This is your house. It's the biggest investment you're ever making, selling it and buying your new home, and I want to make sure I get it right. That's the message that one question says. And if you don't think those little subtleties matter, then you haven't mastered scripts and dialogues, because those little subtleties make all the difference in the world. So just said, hey, listen, I'm going to take some notes while you're talking, because this is going to be important for me. I want to make sure I don't want to miss anything at all. So just tell me a little bit about what your goals are. And he did. And I said, tell me what you guys love about your home. I mean, tell me what you love right now. If someone were thinking about buying it and I was talking to them and I wanted to express to them why should they love the home? What's it meant from you guys? Well, now they're telling me, and he went into great detail. He told me about the fireplace and how he built it by hand, and it's a special type of wood burning fireplace. And he told me all about it and how it. He told me about how they did the backsplash on it. He and his wife worked together on it, and he told me about how they did in all of the bedrooms a full bath. And so every bedroom in this house, there's 5 of them, they all have a full bathroom, and which isn't normal in our market. You know, rarely in a home and every single bedroom also has their own full bath attached to it. And he was telling me why he did that, and he's, you know, he said, we have a daughter and we had a son, and when we built this house, they were younger. We knew they'd be teenagers when we were living here, and we didn't want his friends. They're not that far apart in age, and so we didn't want his friends over and them to have a Jack and Jill type bathroom where they could get between rooms. We just said, we're not going to do that. And he's telling me, we kind of laughed about that, and now you start to build a little bit of rapport. So I said, man, I just had a daughter. And he said, I know, I've seen her on Facebook. She's beautiful. I said, tell me what you love about being a father. Like, how's having a daughter, how's that going to change for me? And so he talked a little bit about that, and he had nothing about real estate at that part. But he opened up and he's sharing things. And then we moved right back in to asking him some questions back about his house. And then so I said, well, look, Lance, I noticed a few things that I just want to tell you that I think we should do. Tell me a little bit about your ceiling fan outside in the outdoor patio area. I notice it looks like it's pretty old and it's kind of at the end of its life. What are you guys' thoughts about replacing that before we put the home on the market? Is that something that you're open to doing? Yes, it is. Fantastic. Hey, look, and I noticed the doors. When I walked in, they're beautiful wood doors, but they need to be restained. Is that something that you agree with? What are your thoughts there? He said, oh no, I think I need to do that. So tell me what else we need to do in your mind. What else do you think you need to do to get your home ready? And he made a few suggestions, and I said, that's on my list. Yep, I think that's a great idea, and I'm writing those down. And so we're coming up with the list of things that he needs to do before we put his home on the market. And then you say a couple other key words. It doesn't matter what it is, but you've been taking notes. My son and I were there a little bit early so we could look at the outside of the home. And I'm going to go back again to when you list with me. So Lance, listen, when you list your home with me, one of the things I think is that we want to have it looking in great shape the first day that it goes on the market. And to me, here's my list of things I think we need to do. And now you're going to give them the list of things that they need to do. It's very important for you to pressure wash your house. You've got a basketball goal outside. Looks like you've had it there for a while. It's kind of ragged out. I think we need to, does your son play on it? No, he doesn't. He hasn't used that thing in years. We just have had it up there. Can you take it down and put it somewhere? Absolutely, I can do that. I'm giving him the list of things that need to be done in that process. Now we're going to shift to, we're talking about the improvements at the property they need to do. We talked about landscaping. We talked about what he needs to do landscaping wise. We talked about inside the home, what he needed to do, what rooms he needed to organize and clean up and pack up clutter and what to do with that, and how to make the home where it looked even better than it already was. And now we're going to talk a little bit about pricing. And so I tell them, I say, Lance, most real estate agents do what I call the 3 Ps of real estate. They put a sign in your yard, they put your home in MLS, and they pray that it sells. I'm going to do the 4th P, and that's proactively look for buyers for your home. Now, in order for me to do that, we really have to do a couple of things that are important. And one of those is the biggest strategy of all, and it's the pricing strategy. So can you kind of tell me in your mind where you feel like y'all need to be? I mean, have you kind of thought about that? And then he said, we played around a little bit with it. This is how much we owe on the house. I'd like to probably get somewhere in this area. And he gave me his number. And then he said, what do you think? Well, here's the key. And I'm going to share a true story with you. And my mom's in here and she can tell you that I'm telling you the truth. And so I went on my first listing appointment. This was years and years and years and years ago. And I didn't, and I'll go back to those 4 P's again. I'll give you that script. So I went on my first appointment. It was with a guy named Rico Malassa. And he lived in my subdivision and was a for sale by owner. And I was calling for sale by owners. And it was like my second month in real estate. And he called me to come list his home. And I was really excited. And I was walking out the door. My mom was in her office. I worked for her. And she said, where are you going? I said, I'm going on my first listing appointment. She said, did you do a CMA? I said, what is a CMA? I mean, they're legit. I mean, I was that new in the business. And she said, well, you got to do a CMA. That's a market analysis. And she helped me print one out. And I grab it off the printer. And I'm looking at it and she's trying to show me it. I mean, like, this is legit on the way to the appointment. This is like 90% of how agents work. They wing it. And I want you to get out of this habit of doing it. And I've been there and done it. You don't want to do it. So I'm driving to the appointment and I go and I sit down at the kitchen table and I'm doing all the things I'm just telling you. And so I say, and here's your CMA. And I just slided it to him and I went, please don't ask me anything about this. Cause I don't know. And then I said, well, what are you guys thinking price wise? Where do you guys want to be? And they gave me a price and that's what we listed it at. And when I left their house, I thought my car was in drive and it was in reverse and I was waving at them and I was still kind of nervous and I took off and I backed right over their mailbox and I had to buy them a new mailbox. I mean, this is a true story of my first listing appointment. And so I get back to the office and my mom said, how'd you come up with this price? And I said, well, that's what they said they wanted to sell it for. She said, can't do that. You know, I did everything the wrong way. So for those of you who are new, don't worry about making a mistake. Just be coachable, though. So I had to go back with my mom to that house and say, hey, listen, we can't list it at this price. I'm sorry. I'm new. My mom's going to be working with me and helping me. My wife's going to be helping me. And we priced it at the right price. And it sold. And I sold him his next home, and we became great friends after that. So it's just a neat story. But pricing is important. So you want to know how to price a property. Now, tonight is not the class for me to tell you how to price the property. If you don't know how to price a property, then you need to get with your mentor, and you need to ask them to meet with you about pricing. I am also working on a pricing class that I believe Juan Andrew-Kane is going to teach, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that at the end. A great opportunity for you guys. But you want to know how to price the property. So get with your mentor or get with your sponsor and ask them to help you learn how to price a home if you don't know how. So they gave me where they wanted to be, and here was the neat thing. They gave me their price, and I said, I actually think you can probably get a little bit more than that. I think you're underpricing it at that point. But here's what I'm going to recommend. I'm going to recommend that we price the house at $515,900. And if we don't have a contract, the average day on the market here is 24 days. If we don't have a contract within 30 days, what I want us to do is reduce it from this price to this price. And then if we don't have a contract in the next 2 weeks after that, we're going to reduce it one more time. And this is where we would be at that. And this is what you would net at that. How's that sound? And that's your tie down. And they said, man, that sounds like a great plan. That's awesome. If we can do that, that's great. So you talk about pricing. You want to show them some tools. Now, there's a great marketing piece that is in EXP Marketing in the listing presentation. I asked you guys to download your favorite listing presentation from EXP Marketing before the class, and because I want you to start working on this. But if you go into EXP Marketing, and let me change the program window so it'll hopefully pull up. Hopefully it won't lose this connection again. And you go to listing presentations. Let's just give me a second. It's a little bit behind. Okay, perfect. It pulled up on my screen. So you go to listing presentations. And there are several listing presentation templates in here that you can download. It'll download it in a PowerPoint or a Keynote file, and you can edit it. So you can change your picture and your name and all that good information in there. But let's just open this listing presentation. They all have the same slide. And even if you don't use all of this presentation, this slide's a great one that I'm about to show you. And it's not quite there yet. There it is. So this slide basically gives you a great script to say. And it says, it basically says, if we price it, the way that you want to ask the script is on one side it shows the percentage of buyers. If you price it 15% above market value, 10% of the potential buyers are going to come through. If you price it at 10% above market value, 30% of the buyers are going to come through. If you price it at market value, 60% are going to come through. And if you do it 10% below market value, 75% of the buyers you're going to capture. And if you price it at 15% below market value, 90% of the buyers are going to come through. So you show them this slide and you ask them this question: what percentage of the buyers do you want to capture? And they say, well, all of them. But when you talk about price with most sellers, what do most sellers want to do? They want to price it as high as they can. And even if they know it's overpriced and you tell them it's overpriced, they say, yeah, but let's just start there to leave some room for some negotiations. And if you're not skilled enough in how to handle that and navigate through that and overcome that, that'll kill you, because you're going to lose a large percentage of your buyers. So when they say that, you say, well, listen, what percentage of the buyers do you want to capture? Well, I want to capture all of them. Well, we're probably not going to capture all of them, but let me show you this slide. This is a really important one for you to understand, Mr. and Miss Seller. This says if we price it above market value, at 10% above market value, we're only going to capture 30% of the buyers. And if we go 15% above market value, we're only going to capture 10% of the buyers. And it's going to be real difficult. Now, how many buyers do we need to have? Only one. We only need one. But we limit that pool of potential buyers by outpricing ourselves outside of the market. If we price ourselves outside of the market, we limit that pool of buyers, and it makes it much more difficult, and it's going to take a longer period of time to find that one buyer. So my recommendation is that we at least need to be at market value, and if not, we want to be below market value. If we can get a little bit below market value, that'd be fantastic, because we're going to pick up a larger amount of the buyers. And again, we only need one of them. So what's more important to you, time or money? Now, when you ask that question, they're going to say, well, they're both important. Time's important. Money's important. Yeah, no, I understand that. But what's most important? Is it important that we sell it in a certain period of time, or that you make a certain amount of money? Well, I need to have this home sold in X amount of days. Now, in this case, when I asked that question, they said, well, we really have a lot of time because we're building our home. And so what happens if we start on the high end? I said, well, that's a great question, and that makes perfect sense. But here's the challenge with that. And this is why I asked you earlier, Lance, if we got a contract on your home the first day we put it on the market, would you be prepared to accept that contract? Would you have a place to go since your home, you haven't even started building the new home yet? Because here's the thing. If you price it high in your mind because you're thinking you got a lot of time, we don't have offers that come in. You're going to get mad at me, but there's nothing I can do because pricing pretty much drives everything. I do the very best, but if we're priced outside the market, there's nothing I can do there. That's called a miracle, and I don't work in that world. However, the other thing that's going to happen is people are going to see a for sale sign in your home, and it's going to sit on the market for a long period of time. People are going to know the average day on this market's around 30 days, and then they're going to say, I wonder what's, and then he finished the sentence for me, and he went, wrong with my house. And I said, yes. And that's why it's important for us to price it right out of the chute. And here's what I'm recommending. This is my strategy to price the home. And I did that, and I shared that strategy, and he said, I'm all on board with that strategy. That makes perfect sense. This slide is a great visual for that. I'm not going to go through this entire presentation, but it's important for you to download that presentation. And it could be this one, or it could be one of the other ones. There's plenty. There's multiple presentations that you can use. So let me switch back one more time. Let me go to my. So I've discussed. It's not showing you guys this. I'm sorry.
Jonathan,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt, but I'm just listening because I'm on an iPad and I can't see a thing you're doing. So how do I get to the listing presentations at EXP Marketing? Where is that?
Great question. So when you log into Enterprise, or when you log into Passport, if you log into Passport, you'll see one of the 4 options you have there says EXP Marketing. And if you log into Enterprise, you also can see another, there'll be a box that says EXP Marketing. And that's how you get there. You bet. And you're not missing much. I'm not showing too many things on the screen tonight. So if you think about this appointment, so I did the valuation before I went there. I previewed the other listings. I looked at the listings that sold. I got all my documents together and ready to go. I walked up to the door, knocked on the door, walked in, set my bag at the kitchen table. I had them walk me through the house. As we were walking through the house, I'm making notes, and I'm also building rapport. The whole time I'm there, I'm building rapport. I'm identifying improvements that they need to make in the property, and I'm telling them that these are things we need to do. When you list with me tonight, we need to make sure that we do this and this and this. Today, this particular example, today I sent him over my the guy that does a lot of landscaping, and I've recommended him, and a lot of my agents use him as well to go do the things that need to be done in his yard. He was all excited about that. So I gave him the things that he needed to do. We discussed pricing. We discussed the strategy and the time, how long we anticipated it was going to take to sell their home. But also you want to set the right expectations. So in that, I said, listen, I don't have a crystal ball. I'm only working with predictable information, and I'm predicting it's going to take somewhere in the 30-day range for us to get an offer on your home, but it could take 60 or 90 days. You know, the market could shift. I can't predict those kind of things. So I'm just telling you on the front end, this is what the data says. And this is what the average day on the market is, and you have an above average home here, and it should sell fast. You want to decide if they're a good fit or not. And you do that while you're doing all the things I just said, while they're showing you the home, you're asking them questions, you're discovering what their goals are. You find out through that discussion, that they're in foreclosure, that they need a contract next week, because if they don't, they're not going to be able to get out of avoiding foreclosure. Or they're the type of person that is just looking for an order taker, and they're going to tell you everything that you need to do. You don't want to work with that type of person. So you can say, okay, this person is not the right fit for me. This just isn't going to work. You'll be able to tell if they're a good fit or if they're not a good fit. And then you're executing paperwork and disclosures, and then giving them one more. That's where you're writing down their list, their honeydew list. In this scenario, I said, what I'm going to do is send you a list of all the things that we talked about tonight that you need to do. And I'm going to give you a list of people who can help you do it if you don't have the time to get it done, so that once your home goes on the market and the listing goes live, we've got all of this done. We don't want to put it on while we're trying to do all of these things. We want to get these things done on the front end. So the last part, though, is you want to have a part in here in all of this where you say this. So after I ask their goals, their questions, I listen, I take lots of notes. Now you're going to shift to the presentation, and here's what I would tell you. Do less presentation and more asking questions. Do more of a needs-based analysis than doing a lot of talking and presenting. I see a lot of new agents and even experienced agents talk themselves out of a listing or out of a sale with a buyer, and you don't want to be that person. So this is just me personally. I didn't bring a listing presentation. I just had a couple slides that I showed as visuals to back up some of my talking points when I was talking to them. But I do think when you're new in the business, I used to use a presentation just like the one that you see here, and it was basically my script, and you don't have to show every slide. But what they should know is you should be able to say, okay, now that I know your goals and your needs and what you're wanting to accomplish, let me share with you a little bit about what I do to get homes sold. That's the phrase. Let me share with you a little bit about what I do to get homes sold. And now I'm going to go into my marketing presentation. I want to tell you, I've been in this. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. Now, I'm not going to say this if they know me, right? Again, just skip that slide because they know you. But I want to tell them a little bit about. I've been in the real estate business for X amount of years. I've grown up here in Baton Rouge. I'm a native. I live here. I love it here. I know the city inside and out. And I've been in the real estate world for the last 15 years, working at a really high level here in Baton Rouge. I've been married to my wife for 22 years. I've got 3 children. Noah, who works with me in the business, who's sitting here right next to me. I have Jaden. He's my 14-year-old, and my wife and I just had a little girl, and she turns a year old August 2nd, and she's absolutely changed our world. I literally say that, in it, because I want them to know me as a person too. I don't want to come across as a salesperson. I want to come across as a consultant, a trusted advisor, a friend, someone they can connect with, who they go, this person's real, this person's authentic. You want to tell them a little bit about your business. If you're brand new in the business, then you might skip this slide. I don't think you glance over that, though. I think it's important. Your slide might say, I started in the real estate business this year, but let me tell you why that's a great thing that I'm a new agent. The great thing is I've got all the time in the world to really aggressively work to find a buyer for your home. If you remember, I shared earlier the 4 P's of real estate. Most agents do the 3 P's. They put a sign in the yard, put your home in MLS, and pray that it sells. Well, me being newer, I'm aggressive, and I'm going to proactively work to go get a buyer for your home. I don't have 25 other listings that take up all my time and I can't really devote to you. It's a great quote from Zillow in their book, Zillow Talk, where they actually say that a brand new agent and an experienced agent, there's not a difference in the list price to sales price of a home, and there's not a difference really on the average day on the market between a very experienced agent and a brand new agent. So if someone asks you about it, you can tell them that, and you can even maybe buy the book Zillow Talk and show them that phrase, that quote in there. And it talks about how the newer agent doesn't have 20 or 30 listings that they're trying to manage and deal with all those people, but they have more time to work with their sellers that they've got. So you'll see this kind of brings you through a little bit of some of what we talked about. Tell me a little bit about your house. I did that on the front end, so there's no need to go back through that slide. These important questions they answer on the front end. That's the questionnaire that I send to them before I get there. So there's no need for me to use that slide. But if you don't like the questionnaire, I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way. I think you have to try different ways. You might just, in the beginning, this presentation is great because it's all right there and it is your script. That's why I think in the beginning it's important to use a presentation. Why I'm the best agent for you. This is a little bit about yourself. Now, this I do want to talk about. So I had an agent who worked with me. And he was new in the business, and we were fishing. And while we were going fishing, he was telling me about this listing he was going to get. It was friends of his, and he just knew he was going to get it. And he's telling me all about it. And while we were coming back from our fishing trip, he said he got a phone call. And while he was talking, I could tell that he was discouraged. And I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Well, man, that was the listing I thought I was going to get. And they just called and they just told me they ended up listing it with someone else. And they told me not to be mad, that I maybe even would be excited because at least they still listed with someone in our office. And that just made it even harder for me." And they said that agent was going to do professional photos, and that agent had a website. That agent was going to syndicate out the listing to all these properties, and that agent had a mobile app, and that agent had this and that, and everything that this agent had, that agent had. Here's the difference. One went on being a friend and didn't share the value proposition, and the other went in and said, "This is what I'm going to do to get your home sold." So when you think of a value proposition as a new agent, a lot of new agents will say, "I really don't have anything that sets me apart." Sure you do. And it's not really even so much what sets you apart. It's just communicating what sets you apart. And so one did a good job of communicating it and one didn't. They had the same exact suite of tools. So you want to be able to say, "Look, let me tell you what sets me apart from agents, other agents here in our market. I've got some incredible tools to help me in my toolkit when it comes to marketing your home. And that's one thing that I'm going to really work aggressively to do, is to market your home, not just sit around and wait for another agent to bring a contract." You want to tell them a little about what transferable skills do you have that you brought from another career. I communicate with my clients. I think it's a great strength that I have, is I'm going to keep you in the loop and let you know everything happening. When there's a buyer coming, I'm going to work to get feedback from that other agent that's showing that home. I'm going to do agent open houses. So for an example, in the conversation I had with this listing, he said, "I met another agent and they were like, I'm going to do an agent open house." And I thought, well, why wouldn't you just, why won't you go find a buyer? Why do you have to bring other agents here to find a buyer? And I said, well, listen, I want there to be realistic expectations. I'm going to do an agent open house too, because there are a lot of other agents that have a network, and some of them are working with buyers to be a great fit for this home. And I want to expose it to as many. It's casting a net versus throwing a line. And we want to cast the net so we can catch a lot of fish, and we only need one of them. We want to catch as many buyers as we can. We only need one to buy it. So I'm going to do that too, but I'm also going to do this and this and this and this. What about your knowledge? How long have you been in the business? If you're new, what transferable skills do you bring from your other career? You've got a great sphere of influence. You're going to let your people in your sphere know about it so that you can generate referrals to find someone who might be a potential fit. the knowledge that you have about that area, how long you've been there, you've lived there, your ability to communicate, the technology that you have. I talked a lot about our technology when I met with this person, and these are the tools that I have to make sure that we get things, make sure that we get your home sold fast and for top dollar. And then you're just going to go through these slides. You won't have to do every one. You can hide. That's the great thing about PowerPoint too. You can just hide a slide, only show the ones that you want to show, and skip through some of them. You're going to put some testimonials if you have some clients. If you don't have them, don't make up testimonials. Be authentic. There's no, you hear people say fake it till you make it. I disagree with that. I think you be real and honest with people, and they appreciate that much more than you trying to fake it and put fake testimonials in, and that'll only come back and haunt you. You might want to show some recent sales. If you don't have any recent sales, show some recent sales in the area. That's also going to be in your seller report that you're going to give to them. If you want to educate them a little bit about realtors and why it's important to work with a realtor. I did educate them on this meeting about working with a realtor because they are friends of mine, but they've also sold 2 homes for sale by owner. And they agreed. I shared the differences, and they talked about their frustrations, and they agreed that on this go round they needed a realtor. And so we talked about a little bit about that and about how the appointment process works. When someone schedules an appointment. And Ginger, if you can mute your microphone, that'd be fantastic. And so, I'm sorry.
Mic on.
Huh?
I don't have my mic on.
Oh, well, it was just doing a bunch of noise. And then you have the seller roadmap. I don't show this slide because in EXP marketing, there is another tool it's the same thing. It's just a nicer version called the seller's roadmap. And I use that. Last week, I showed you guys the buyer roadmap or the benefits of home ownership. It's the same thing, but it's for a seller. But you might just use this and all in this one presentation. I showed you the price derivative and why it's important to price the home properly. The next part's the CMA or the market analysis. That's going to be, I use RPR for that. And again, the website's NAR, N-A-R, RPR.com, NARRPR.com. And you're going to need to know your NERDS number. And that's a free tool for you. And it's amazing. And there's also an app on your phone. So we pulled it up on the phone to even see what else was in the area when we got there and found one more home that had just hit the market. So that is a really great tool. And you're going to, so the important part of this is I'm not going to go through each one of these slides, but you want to download these slides and then customize them and make them your own. If you're brand new, it's really good to have a presentation because it keeps you on track. And if you begin to shift off track, you look at your slide book, it puts you right back on track. And that is, to me, really important. And so yeah, let me show you real quick, just so you see what I'm talking about. Let me go to RPR. And I can type in an address, or I can type in a city, or I can type in a zip code. So it's going to show me, these are all the homes for sale in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, 70817. If I were doing, let's just say that I was going to do, if I click on a property, it's going to pull up and it's going to show me this property. And let's just say this one's for sale, but let's just say it wasn't for sale. I could type in this address. It's going to pull up where it says list price. It's not going to show me that because it's obviously not for sale yet, but it will show me the estimated value. And then there's a range. And if I click on the range, it's going to show me the range is $641,714 to $768. And it's going to tell me the confidence in this report is strong so that you can trust and verify the information. And then it's going to say the last time this was updated was June 13th of 2018. In this property, 705-180, and the agent has it listed at 750. So there's probably some custom things on the inside and some things that had done that upped the value a little bit. And that's why it's important for you to see the home. It's going to show you pictures of the home. It's going to give you home facts. It's going to give you, even on the home facts, it'll give you the owner of the home. It's going to give you property tax information. It's going to give you so much information in here. And they have, if you go to blog.narpr.com, narpr.com, I'm sorry. So blog.narpr.com. I'm posting it in the chat. There is a book that you can download, and it looks like the screen went away again. Apologize, I'm having some issues tonight. But if you go to their site, to the blog, there are multiple ebooks that you can download for free that will teach you exactly how to utilize RPR. And it's totally free for you to use, but there's some great ebooks in here. And the mobile app is just RPR. You can download it on your phone. Really a great tool to use. I mean, it's a killer tool. I definitely would learn how to use it. That could be a class all in of itself as well. So then you want to close, right? And this is the part where a lot of people get scared or nervous or not really sure what to do. But at the end of that, I ask them, listen, do you have any other questions, thoughts, or concerns for me tonight? And I just stop and I listen. Silence is okay. Don't feel like you have to fill every little bit of gap with something to say. It's okay for there to be silence. And they'll tell me, they'll say whatever it is that they have, and then I pull out the paperwork and I begin to go right through it. Now, that's assuming the listing. Some people don't like to work that way. I do. I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more bold in that approach. But I felt like I did a great job of building rapport, talked about listening with them numerous times. They were saying all the signs to me that let me know they're ready to move forward. And so we did everything that we needed to do at that moment. But we didn't list it yet because we've got to do, there's several key things we have people going over this week that they're working on and doing to get the house ready to hit the market. But we've been talking every day, and we've got a lot of the initial paperwork ready and done. So it's if they're ready and they've got everything done, you absolutely can go ahead and get the listing that night too. And if they have questions or they go, we want to think about it, or we want to, a lot of times people say, well, we just want to think about it. And I'll ask them. The question I ask at that time is, hey, fantastic. I think it's really important that you do think about it because it's a big decision selling your home. And you want to make sure that you get an agent who's going to go to work for you. Just so I'm curious, I want to make sure that I've answered all of your concerns on the front end. What is it that you need to think about? Is it the price? Is it things that we need to do? Is it my marketing plan? Like what part, just while I'm here so I can help you process it, what is it that you need to think about the most? And they tell me, and then I'm going to help them navigate through that part of it again to see if I can move them one step closer. But you're constantly closing, small little closes throughout the presentation. And then you have to in your mind know it's a process, it's not an event. So don't beat yourself up if you go on a listing appointment and you don't get the listing that night. It might be the next week that you get it. It might be, but the reality is you want to go on those appointments. You're filling your pipeline and then you're constantly talking to them. And if you can get them in the process, if you can get them to sign a few things, if you can get them to get some, a handyman over there, a landscaper over there, a pressure washer guy over there to do things that need to be done, you're closing the gap and they're working with you. So let me pause, stop, and answer questions that you guys have. I haven't been able to watch the chat, so you guys can unmute your mics and let's just talk a little bit. Ask what are some of the questions that you've got about what we just talked about.
So this is a listing appointment or the preview? Definitely the listing appointment, right?
Correct.
Okay, so you're okay with walking out of there and not getting anything signed, and then kind of hoping that you keep working with them to eventually get that contract signed, or that's what I got from the very end of it.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say hoping. What I would say is you're not going to go on every single listing appointment and get the listing that first night. It's just not going to happen. And the people that tell you that it is they're not being honest and truthful with you. Many you're going to go on that first night and you are going to get the listing. In this scenario, so specifically to the client that I'm talking to you about right now, he is buying some land. They're doing a certain type of financing, and they're in that process this week. And while they're in that process, they actually can't have the home listed. So we have to wait. We did some paperwork, but we actually can't list it officially until a certain process is done with them on the land that they're buying. And so sometimes you'll have specific reasons like that of why you can't just go list it. But most of the time you're going to list it. You don't want to put it on the market though if it's got all kind of stuff that needs to be done. You want them to get it ready you go, hey, these are the things we've got to do in the next 3 or 4 days to get it ready to go live. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so that example that you have here for tonight is not really like more of a running theme of what you had before with the preview. This is kind of a slightly different take because you're friends with him.
No, it was nothing like a preview. So if you're referring to like my FSBO script to preview, would you be offended if I took 10 or 15 minutes to preview your home? I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to.
What I'm referring to is using that to then bridge the gap. Then you get the listing appointment, and then you're going in, and you know what I mean. Basically, what I'm asking is this the same listing appointment kind of script and take that you'd have once you did the preview successfully? They reach out to you, you're going to go over there and hopefully get everything signed.
Correct. Yeah. So the only thing in this scenario, so if you go back to what I was saying earlier, you're gonna go into their house. You're You're going to have them give you the tour of the home. You're going to work your way back to the kitchen table. You're going to use a needs-based analysis and discuss their goals. You're going to tell them the things that you saw on the property that they need to improve before it goes on the market. You're going to discuss pricing and strategy. You're going to, in that whole process, also find out, is this a client I want to work with? Is this going to be a good fit for me? You're going to now say, let me share a little bit with you about what I do to get homes sold. Then you're going to say, are there any other thoughts or questions or concerns that you guys have before we do the paperwork to get your home on the market? And they'll have a few, and you answer those. And then I actually pull out the listing paperwork and start filling it out. So I'm doing all of that in this appointment. And I did all of that in this appointment. And when we got to the paperwork, that's when he said, there's one more thing I need to tell you. And in that process on this scenario is when he said, I'm doing some special financing and I won't be able to actually officially list it until this week because I have to finalize what I'm doing here. And the home can't be listed while I'm going through this process.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Thanks for the review and everything. Appreciate that.
You bet.
I got a question. In Texas, we have a coming soon. So would you go through and get everything you could signed and then do like a coming soon, which you can do for about 2 weeks or so?
Yeah, I mean, we can't do that here in Louisiana. However, if I could, yeah, I would have. I would definitely.
You'd go ahead and do everything that you can get signed, but you wouldn't necessarily list it in his situation until a couple of weeks till they get everything done.
Yeah, take his one scenario out coming soon. Yeah, I would. I would, and I would try to get as much lockdown as I could to where I'm. That if you get just if they're not going to list it that night, and you're trying to do that, I mean, that's the definite goal. The definite goal is to go get a listing. I mean, we brought a sign, we brought a lockbox. We intended to get the listing that night, and it's going to end up being this week instead of that night. But that's okay. We got some things signed and we got some things done, and they actually went to open house today that my sister held open, and when they met her and they said, "Oh, your brother is our agent," and now so you can see the signs, and if you can so to make a long answer short, yes, I would do that if I could. Now, okay, I don't know every market, so I would tell all the rest of you guys check with your broker and your market to see what you can or can't do in those scenarios.
Right. Thank you.
I have a question.
Okay.
Do you actually take your iPad and go there and do the e-sign, or do you get your documents ready except for pricing? I just wondered if that's not a lot of pressure to have in the meeting.
Tell me that one more time, so I can hear one more. I just want to make sure I understood the question.
Okay. What I was asking was, do you actually use your iPad or do you take your laptop? I'm just wondering about when you actually do get a list ready to sign that night when you're in that appointment. It may be a little nerve-wracking for me to do that at that time.
Okay. So I use an iPad Pro and an Apple Pencil and Notability. That's the app I use, Notability. And I go in and I have for each listing appointment I go on, I'll have a folder in Notability for that client, and it has each document: the listing agreement, dual agency disclosure, the agency pamphlet that explains to the consumer what agency means. The property condition disclosure, all the documents I have to have in the state of Louisiana, I have in the folder for that specific client. And I just open them up on my iPad, and I just take the Apple Pencil and I'm just writing in it just like I would normally write, and I let them sign it. And then I can take that and save it as a PDF file and upload it right into SkySlope.
Oh, so they sign with the Apple Pen.
Yep. And it's super easy.
Quick
I
question.
didn't know that.
Okay, so do you go through and explain every single paragraph on the listing agreement to them?
Yes. I don't read everything like word for word, but I explain to them this is what, if they're initialing it or signing it, I explain what it means. And I see Ginger says she has everything ready to go already to electronically sign, and that's another great option that you can do as well. Go ahead. Someone had a question?
Oh, I do. I wanted to ask you, Jonathan, if they don't want to sign that evening and you've asked the question, what can I help you with to understand, or can I answer any questions you may have? Do you, and after they say to you, well, we just want to think about it overnight, do you leave the document for them to sign? Or if you have typed out them to sign, do you leave it with them, or do you just follow up the next day?
Well, me personally, the document is in my iPad, so I don't leave them the document. But what I would do would be, I got to come back and put a sign up. And so I can do one of two things. I can do exactly what Ginger said, and I can just go home that night and type everything up and agree on a price of what they're thinking about, or just leave that blank and ready to type up when they call me the next morning and tell me, and I can just shoot it over via email. Or I can say I can swing by and just have you guys sign everything, whichever's easier for you. Because you still got to go put a sign up and a lockbox up and get a key and all that kind of good stuff. But it's probably easier in that scenario when you leave to just have your document typed out, your listing agreement and disclosures, and have everything where they need to e-sign and just shoot it right over to them, because they're probably the next morning going to be at work and you want both parties to sign, and then you can just go put a sign in the yard, get the key, and do the lockbox later.
Sounds.
Hey, Jonathan, I was wondering, what are all the documents that you put in the folder that you're actually leaving with them?
So I leave them the seller roadmap. I leave them there's a seller checklist, and you can kind of check off, and then I used to leave them a little, in EXP marketing, there is a tool called your vendor checklist, and you can leave to them, and it gives all your list of people that you use. So, hey, look, if you need anyone in this process, we talked about landscaper. Here's a landscaper. I have them. I just send them my Homekeeper Pro app. That's what I did with this person the other night, because I'm starting to really use that app, and I'm getting, here are all my vendors. So just go here and find someone. And even throughout the process, if you want to do something else to your home, or the new home that you're going to, you'll always have my list of preferred vendors. So I give them access to that app. But the only real leave behinds I leave that pricing sheet that I shared with you on pricing it right, and it's in that sheet, that graph or visual is in every single listing presentation in EXP marketing. So you'll have, in whichever listing presentation you download, you'll have it. And then I leave them the seller roadmap, and that's the only two pieces I leave. I used to use a brochure, and they have a lot of agent brochures that you can customize in the EXP marketing as well. But I used to have my own brochure that I gave that told all about me. But I don't use a brochure anymore. I don't leave a ton of stuff with them.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
I was just going to ask about that chart of the pricing part. What's the background for that? They may say, where did those numbers come from?
I believe and it doesn't say on here, but it's in a lot of presentations. Someone in the group may know. But there is, it's in multiple presentations from multiple people. So I'm assuming it either came from NAR or maybe Hob Herder or, I don't know the answer to that question of where it came from. I did see read a stat that said 86% of all statistics are made up. So could be made up too. I'm just playing. It came from somewhere though, and I'm assuming NAR.
Hi, Jonathan. I'm going to try this again. I have a situation coming up Tuesday where I'm going to be making an appointment with a for sale by owner, and her husband has become ill, and there's time frames and everything else. And where it sits right now is she wants to just offer 2% to me if I bring a buyer. I'm trying to come up with a strategy, and everything that you mentioned tonight was excellent. And so it kind of helped me, but I just kind of wanted to put this in front of you of how you would handle that.
So I have a video on that YouTube channel I posted earlier, and that's also in our workplace, that I teach the actual FSBO system that I use, and there's some great scripts and dialogue in there. And me personally, if I met with someone and I went through everything I do to get home, so let me make this clear. And I'm trying to not make this class be a 2-hour class. So when I do the part about let me share a little bit with you about what I do to get home sold, I didn't say this, and I should have. In that section of the presentation, I'm sharing with them how their home is going on my website. I'm going to create a single page website just for that property in addition to it being on my home. All I'm doing is going to create a single page buyer squeeze page, meaning I'm just going to create a squeeze page that's just for that property. And so it makes it a single page property website. I'm going to syndicate it out to these sites that it's going to go to. And if you go into the Tech Outpost, since I made the transition to EXP, I just found out that they actually have a visual that they can send to us that shows where all it's syndicated out to. And I don't have that visual on this computer to pull up and show you, but you can get it in the Tech Outpost. And that'd be another good visual to give them if you wanted to. But I'm telling them all the things I'm going to do to market their home. I'm going to send out a just listed postcard to my sphere. I'm going to send out a just listed postcard to your subdivision. We're going to hold an open house. We're going to hold an agent open house. When we hold an open house, these are the things that we do to market that open house. So I'm telling them all of this stuff. I had this conversation with this specific person I'm using as an example. I'm going to circle prospect, meaning I'm going to go through and let your other people in your subdivision know. We're going to walk the subdivision, give them a flyer of your property, and say, hey, this is the perfect opportunity for you to choose your neighbor. This home is for sale. You maybe have seen the sign in the yard. If you know anyone looking to live in the subdivision, please refer them our way. I'm going to say all these things that we do to market your home. This is what's going to happen. So when I sit down with a for sale by owner and I show them all of that, and they say, well, look, if you bring me a buyer, I'll pay you 2%. And I'll say, well, that's fantastic. But what part of this marketing plan, just take, for example, anyone, not just a for sale by owner, anyone who just says, well, I'll if you'll list it at a discount price, then the script to that is, what part of my marketing plan do you want me to take away? Well, none of it. Well, I can't offer you full service work at a discount price. I just can't do that. If a for sale by owner tells me that, I say, hey, listen, I really appreciate that. While that sounds great and you feel like you're telling a lot of agents that and they're going to really go work, the reality is they're not going to go to work for you to go find a buyer to earn 2% because they know they're really going to end up doing all of the work. They're going to have to help you navigate through the process, and they're going to be working with the buyer, and it just doesn't make sense. And so while I hope that works for you, if you get to a point where you're serious about selling your home and you'd like to meet with me to learn more about what I do to get homes sold, I'll be more than happy to sit down and share that with you. That's what I would say to them.
Thanks so much, Jonathan.
You bet.
Jonathan, where do you go to make your postcards, and what is the cost of them to have them made and sent out?
Great question. So, Sarah, I go to EXP Marketing, and again, to get there, you go to Passport, which hopefully all you guys know how to go to Passport. And once I log in, is this showing up on the big screen? Because I can't see the big screen.
It is. Yep.
Okay. So it's going to give me these tabs in Passport. And the last one says EXP Marketing Center. When I click on EXP Marketing Center, it's going to log me in. Click on Postcards, which is running just a little bit slow here. And then you create your whichever postcard that you want. And let me just pull one up. And it saves all your postcards. And it gives you an option, Sarah. So after you create a postcard and you click on, there's a button that says finish this project. And so here's the postcard, and over on the left, the blue button says finish this project. It gives me these options, and one of them says print and ship. And if I drop down the print and ship, it's going to tell me that for 50 of these postcards, it is $36.45 with shipping and everything. And that's if they print them and send them to me.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And that's where I've done all my postcards. I've used this for numerous. That's where I'm doing my just listed postcards. When I sell one, sell a home, I use the same thing. I made the just sold one. It's where I'm sending these seller valuation leads. So that I did the video on how to create the seller leads. I've made a postcard, and I just mail them a postcard, and it says thinking of selling. It's called the Magic Postcard. But that's where I order them from.
Okay, I've posted this on Workplace, but I've got a listing coming up that has furniture in every room but the dining room. Would you get that staged?
I mean, I think it would help. I wouldn't personally spend my money to do it. I would tell them, hey, I think it's important that we have some furniture in here because it looks weird with one room having nothing in it at all. But that's me. Without knowing much about the house or seeing it, I think it's important to, especially if it's the living room. You want to definitely tell them the things. They need to declutter stuff. They need to sometimes they need to take furniture out. We just did a listing, and my son and I went through with him, and I said, look, we're the seller. We need to remove some of this furniture. So it's just each house would be a little bit different. But if it's their living room and every other room has furniture and that one doesn't, maybe they can shift some furniture from one room into the living room. They don't necessarily have to hire a stager. Yep.
One of the best things, this is Shelley, one of the best things that I heard, and you're talking about getting the house to tip-top shape is to ask them if they would rate their home between a 1 and 10. And if they say a 7, then maybe say, well, what would it take to make it a 10? Kind of puts the idea into their head without you having to
that's a great
say some things.
So I use that. It's so funny. I had never
Just
thought.
one of my
I never thought
favorite.
about. I've never thought about using that on the listen side. When I meet with agents all day long for working to attract talent to EXP, and I'll always ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you say you are in potentially making a transition? 10 being the highest, and if they say 7, I go, well, what has to happen in your mind for you to become maybe an 8 or 9 or a 10? And it kind of lets me know where they are, but I love it in that perspective of a listing presentation. So thank you for sharing that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I really love it.
Yeah. And I see some questions real quick going in the chat box about Skyslope and Dot Loop. And what I tell you is you've got some of the greatest tools at EXP. I would just use the tools that you have at EXP. There's no reason to have other tools. Maybe for you there is. So I'm not. There's no judgment if you are. But it still has to go into Skyslope, even if you're using Dot Loop. It has to go into Skyslope, and it's got to go into Skyslope within a certain period of time. And so I would just use Skyslope. And I know that's what my mom. Yep, go ahead.
Hi, this is Ginger. I was going to say one of the things, and I'll just throw this out there, that I do on a listing is I pull up the active expired endings, but I put the expireds in there too. And then when I'm talking to them about pricing their home, I have like a scale, a line with this scale with just like about 2 or 3 different numbers as to the prices of the homes. When they get down to the expireds, they're going to see how long those homes have been on the market or whatever. And so I asked them, I lay the pen down and I asked them, where would you price your home when you're looking at this information right here?
Yeah, no, that's great. And there's all kind of little tips and strategies. I love that. And that, to me, that's a script. You're using a visual, but it's also a great script. And I'd love for you to share that in our script group, because I think that's such a great. I used to do something. I didn't really. It was actually nothing similar. It was similar in the fact of I used to print out before I said, let me share all the things that I do to get homes sold. I'd print out all the homes for sale in their area in the list format, so there'd be pages of them. And then I would simply say my job, and I'd highlight one of the addresses, and I would say my job is to make your house stand out from all of these homes that you're competing with. And then I would maybe tie right into that let's look at your specific neighborhood at the actives and the solds and the expireds and the pendings, and based off this information, take a minute and look at it. Where would you price your home? I love that. That's great. That's awesome.
But this and the way that we do it, I've learned to do it is I hand the pen and I set it down, but I point it at the price I want them to list it at.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. That's great. And, a lot of times, and I'll share this, everyone, the people asking about the magic postcard, every single postcard that I use is in EXP Marketing. So just go to EXP Marketing, go to postcards, and it's named the magic postcard, and you'll see it. Mom, I don't know if you can figure out how to unmute your microphone. It's the little down at the bottom of your screen. If you click it so that your microphone is green. Yeah, I can hear you. Perfect. I can hear you. So, guys, this is my mom. She's been in real estate for like 46 years as an agent. She's owned her own brokerage. She works at EXP. Her and my sister work together. Last year in our market, they sold $52 million in real estate. They do an incredible job. And I've never seen anyone work like my mom. And I mean, I've seen when you talk about building rapport and listing homes, you know, she doesn't have a printed listing presentation that she does. She goes in, she knows the market really well. She knows the numbers. But one of the things she does a great job of is when it comes to commission. And that's always where people get nervous. And I've seen they go, well, what's your commission? And then you say your commission, and we all know commissions are negotiable, but they go, what's your commission? And you say a number, and then they go, well, so-and-so said they'll do it for this. And then most agents go, well, I will too. And if you're not that quick, and I'll give you some objections at the end of how to handle that. But Mom, would you just tell them kind of what you do? Because I think it's really neat when you just go through what you need to net.
Well, yeah, I kind of work it back. I work it backwards, and I'm sure you all know anybody that's in real estate. If it's a 6% commission, you can kind of figure out if you know about where you're going to list it. You can figure out your commit, you know figure out what they're going to list it for, and I go in there and I'll just say, this is the price that we're going to list it at. Do you agree? This is what we're agreeing upon. Yes, that sounds like a great price. And then I just immediately figure, I said, well, at this price, you're going to net, because I've already got, this is what you will net. Are you happy with that? And they'll go, yes, I'm happy with that net. I have never discussed commissions. I just deduct the 6% commission out right away, or 7, whatever I'm doing it at. And then when I show them their net, and if they're happy with that, then I go, well, let's go ahead and put it on the market for this, and I'll just fill out the paperwork.
So, and that has worked fantastic, and that's exactly what I did with this client who my son and I met with. I just said, so this is what you're going to net at 515.9. And you already told me this is what you owe, so you know what you'll get from the title company. And is that in the ballpark of where you want to be? He said, oh, my God, yeah, this is awesome, dude. Great. This is going to be a home run for me. Fantastic.
And Jonathan,
Yep.
what about all of the fees and all of that? Do you include all of the fees? Do you do a percentage and take that out?
No, I just do fees. We know basically about what it's going to be to cancel the mortgage on the property if they have it. You can kind of have those things in mind, and if you don't know, sometimes people have problems estimating proration share of taxes. We have a easy little rule here to do it, but you just add in. You got, the only other fees you'll have is your proration of taxes, and but this is basically what you'll net, and you'll have these other fees. Because if you're, you should, a long time ago, you did a seller's net sheet. We just think of that, have the net sheet in mind, and just do that and be familiar with it.
Okay.
And one thing I would encourage everybody to download is, and you can get it on your iPhone. It's called or your Android. It's called the Qualifier 3X, and it is the real estate calculator. And this is I'm going to tell you, we're doing a mini class on how to utilize this calculator. But it's a great app. It's the $30, but if you buy the actual physical calculator, it's like $100. And I've been using this forever. And I'm trying to find a better picture of it, but it's super easy for you to figure out a lot of these numbers you're talking about. If you're using just a regular old calculator, it's another story. It's $19.99 in the Apple Store. And I'm pulling it up now so you guys can see it. And it literally, it lets you qualify somebody. It lets you tell someone what their note would roughly be, principal and interest. You can work it backwards to figure out what price point they need to be looking at by asking them a couple of questions. But when you're on a listing appointment and you're trying to run some of these numbers and tell them what they're going to net, you really want to be able to have quick access to that. And I've used this forever. I use it like crazy, and it's probably one of the best tools that my mother taught me how to use, is how to use this calculator. And I still have the actual physical handheld calculator too. I keep it in my car. It's like my backup, but the app is exactly like the physical calculator itself. It works exactly the same way. Any other questions that you guys have?
I have a question about staging. Back in the day, that wasn't a real big deal, and now it seems like it really is. Is there a place where we can get numbers around how much that helps, the cost, et cetera?
It's going to be different in every market, and then even within a market, it's going to be different in the subdivision or neighborhood in the market that you're in.
I think maybe it's more prevalent in the higher end property, say 500,000 plus.
Hey, Jonathan, can I say something about that?
Yes.
Yeah, so I just read an article about this at this Cambridge University, or somebody just did a study about this, and they had homes that were staged. They had homes, the exact same home that was not staged. They had taken that same home and painted it awful colors and strange things. What they found was that there was really no discernible difference between having staged the home, having painted the home, than when they had spent the money and actually staged it. So I think that that's more of a perception thing between that the community feels like it needs to be staged. But if you're trying to push somebody to spend a ton of money to stage, I don't think that there's really, at least this study says that's not really worth the money.
Yeah, that was my thought. Okay, thanks.
You bet. Let's do one more question before we wrap up. Anyone have a question before we wrap up?
Yeah, does anybody know? I recently had a seller ask me, well, what do you know about Redfin? And this was on a listing appointment. And so I was kind of put on the spot, and I had to defend myself against Redfin that I knew nothing about. I got the listing, but I just made up some I just pulled something out of thin air and they went with it. But does anybody know why you should not go with Redfin? Is it a 1% listing fee that they charge, I believe?
Something like that. And I think my name is William Shattuck. I'm just trying to throw in a little bit of my opinion about that. You're going to spend, I don't know how long you've been in the market, but I've been at this a long time. And you're going to spend countless hours behind the scenes that they're not aware of. And I always, if somebody comes to me with an attitude about Redfin, first thing I tell them is, I'm here to work for you, and I'm going to work really, really hard. And I have a lot of experience. And when you have somebody who's willing to work for that amount, they're not going to be really as good as I am, because they're not going to be spending the same amount of time, or they're not going to have the same amount of experience. That person's probably a new person. And, I go over all the history that I have, and I try to explain to them that I'm not really getting paid enough. Don't tell them that.
So let me just share this, because I don't want to get in, chase a rabbit down a hole on tonight. We're talking about doing a listing presentation. But if in that comes up, you're going to get a handful of objections. And if someone says, whether it's Redfin or whether it's an agent who's doing a flat fee to put their home in MLS, commission only becomes an issue in the absence of value. Commission only becomes an issue in the absence of value. You will have some people, and they will only focus on that, and you just know, okay, this is not a right match, and I'm going to move on, and I'm not going to spend my time, energy, and effort trying to change these people's perception. I'm going to just go on another listing appointment. But you do want to handle those objections and answer them, because a lot of times they're just trying to fill you out. So if someone told me, well, I met with a Redfin agent and they're only going to do it for 1%, or I met with XY Joe Smith who's going to just charge me $500 and put it in MLS, and then I would say, well, good luck, because I just shared with you this marketing plan. What part of it do you really think it needs to be taken away? Well, I like all of it. I want all of it there. that's fantastic. But if you're meeting with an agent and they can't even negotiate their own commission well, what good of a job do you think they'll do negotiating a contract for you to net as much money as you possibly can net? I mean, you do want someone who has good negotiating skills working for you, don't you?
Absolutely. I agree with you, Jonathan. And another thing that I say to them is, hey, all I can say is you're going to have people that are going to come and offer you, because they're going to try to get the listing. They're going to try to tell you, we'll take less commission. We'll take less commission. And I always say, you know, they can work for less commission and I can work for my full commission. Who do you think's going to work harder for you?
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. And so that's the part I would hit on. And then here's the real thing. And this is the part where agents struggle. So I'm going to go right back through that. You know, hey, listen, if cheaper's not always better, and it's important for you to have an agent who's going to proactively work to find a buyer for your home. And if you're working with a discount agent, how much time, energy, and effort and money do you think they're going to put into doing that? And also on top of that, if they can't negotiate their own money, how do you think they're going to do when it comes to negotiating your money? And that's really important for you to think about. You do need someone who's a strong negotiator working for you, don't you? And then they're going to say, yeah, well, yes, I do. And now I'm just moving them back through the process with me. And I'm going to say, so outside of that, what's stopping you from listing with me tonight? Be quiet. Don't say anything else. Stare at them. And just wait. There's that awkward silence, and that's a good thing. And let them process it. And usually they go, that actually makes sense. You're right about that.
Yeah, because if you speak after that, you usually lose. So
correct.
You let them up.
Correct.
I can say in our Dallas market that we have a lot of places where if you're priced right, you got multiple offers. And I've seen properties with Redfin that were listed in those areas, and they're just sitting there forever.
Yeah,
why do you
because
think they're sitting there?
They're either not priced right, or there's just not, the people aren't doing what they need to do to market it properly. But every other house is selling, and they're getting an offer, multiple price offer, highest and best, in 7 to 14 days. And this one's sitting on the market for 2-3 months.
I say, okay, I can get you what you need. Then would that matter? Whether it's the 1% or whether it's 3% or whatever it is. If I get you what you need.
I love your mom's idea. That's what it does. It start with what do you need to net and work backwards.
I've never heard anybody approach it that way, and I like it myself.
Yeah.
The truth is, if you're having this kind of a conversation over commission this long and this kind of a battle, you missed something along the way. You didn't connect with this person in a way that they bought you instead of your commission. I mean, you need to sell yourself and connect with these people in a real way. So Jonathan's doing a disc class next week. Is that when are you doing that class?
Yeah. So every Wednesday at noon Pacific time in the RE Tech Conference Hall starting July 18th, not this coming Wednesday, but next Wednesday, I'm teaching a disc workshop, and each week it's going to be different. It's not the same class every week, and it's on how to incorporate disc, how to understand human behavior, how to understand why people do what they do, and how to communicate with them, resolve conflict, handle objections, move through issues like that, and how to communicate with someone in a way where they hear you and get your message, and they walk away from your meeting. Your goal when you walk away from a listing presentation or when you're in it, they're thinking the whole time, I don't know what it is. I just connect with this person. They just get me. This is who I want to be my agent. This is them.
Yeah, if you want to take that disc analysis, Tony Robbins has a free deal where you can go out there and do that.
Yep, and we're going to be it's posted in the disc group and workplace, and then I'm going to be the very first session next Wednesday. We're going to be taking disc assessments and talking about them. So you'll be talking about your disc assessment. Well, listen, we went longer than I anticipated tonight. I'm shocked we still have 99 users, and it's been 2 hours. So you guys are warriors hanging in. So you bet. Each week, I'm going to be breaking down the rest of this process for buyers and for sellers that we've been talking about. I just wanted you to have the basic foundation of the buyer consultation and the listing consultation. I want to share one last thing I'm working on this real quick is I'm going to do a Super Saturday training that's coming up. I'm going to have the date tomorrow. I'm meeting with Brad Anderson, and it's going to be a Saturday. You'll have me teaching a main session, and then I'll have 6 different teachers in different rooms in the world. There'll be 6 topics, different topics geared for newer agents. You will pick 3 of the 6 classes that you want to take that day. Each session will be 30 minutes. So we'll have a 30-minute kickoff session and then 3 30-minute sessions you'll rotate to. 3 of the 6 being offered. Pick the 3 you like the most. And then we'll wrap back up here. And I've got some great trainers. I got an Inman. She's one of the top speakers for Inman. She's going to be speaking. I'm going to rope Juan Andrew Kane into speaking. I've got I got Chuck to commit to speak, who's an incredible agent and has won like the Realtor of the Year in his market 800 times. It's more than any other realtor in the world. He is very impressive. So some great presenters for you. I'll be giving you more information in our group, but this is going to be a Saturday morning deal where you'll rotate to the different teachers, and the teachers will stay in one. They'll each be in their own meeting room, and you'll just rotate to them. And I think it's going to be a great concept. We've never done anything like this in the XP world, so I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be really cool. So be on the lookout for that. I'll be posting more information soon. It's going to be 3 or 4 weeks away from when we do the Super Saturday, so I can plan everything with the rooms and all the instructors. And again, if you haven't joined our email list, join our email list so you can get updates on that kind of good information, and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. And thank you all for being here, and guys, have an awesome night.
Be well. Thanks again.